My loyal viewers might look at the background footage and question,
"What is wrong with you? Why are you blue?"
Don't worry, I am not switching mains so long Stockholm Syndrome has anything to say in this regard. But it just so happens we're back on the topic a little more adjacent to the Blue Warrior, as in my brilliant video about how people undervalue and overlook certain parts of the gameplay, I have overlooked a certain part of the gameplay that really should have received more attention. Irony of the situation is not lost on me, you can bet on that. And neither is the fact that from all the people chiming into the conversation, no one mentioned that specific thing either, so as previously, try watching till the end before commenting. You all did a great job in this regard last time, so thank you for that. Before we continue, a friendly reminder that you can check Bullshit Brigade's Discord server, which is a bit of a virtual insane asylum if I'm to be honest, and you can support me through Patreon if you like the content. The undervalued, underconsidered factor in the gameplay I forgot to elaborate on is one of a valuable in-game boons. One that has its value differing wildly from build to build, and which value doesn't change based on what build uses it, but instead it changes based on what build you are using it against. I am talking, of course, about Aegis. For anyone out of the loop, Aegis is a duration stacking boon that is expended if any attack hits you to block said attack. As all boons, Aegis is completely player state independent once applied and can be extended, reapplied or shared without any repercussions. Whatever is your class and build of choice and your kind of self-inflicted brain damage, you can probably conjure in your mind more than few builds that would be more or less affected by enemy Aegis. But you may not entirely comprehend just how much of a difference can that be. For two decent examples, I'll use Axe and Hammer Warrior respectively. Axes are weapons with multitude of multi-hits on their abilities. Cyclone Axe and Dual Strike both hit twice, and Whirling Axe hits whopping 15 times. It isn't hard to imagine then that this build won't be too drastically affected if one of its 20 plus hits doesn't connect. Hammer, on the other hand, depends on few and far between but extremely powerful strikes. Its typical target combo from neutral involves 6 single-hit attacks, only 4 of which actually do damage, and 2 being both CC and 1 a cooldown reset on top of that. Meaning that depending on which attack gets blocked by Aegis, Hammer Warrior can lose not 1 but 2 hits in the combo, and all its skills require target to be CC'd to deal optimal damage, so every hit missed, even those which don't do damage, is a substantial loss of damage. Not to mention loss of adrenaline, as blocked attacks grant none. As you see, different weapons of the same class can be affected differently by the same amount of Aegis. Here we see it be completely irrelevant against axes and on the other hand severely hindering the hammer. For different example, Guardian's Longbow 2 can be completely nullified by 1 stack of Aegis, while for example Pistol 2 will laugh it off and keep going. Similarly, Ranger's Greatsword 2 will be completely blocked by 1 stack of Aegis, but his Longbow 2 will almost completely ignore said Aegis. In general, soft blocks will affect builds differently based on how many hits is that build's kill pressure spread around. The bigger the significance of each singular attack, the more value those won't get from Aegis blocking it. Of course, every build has some sort of big significant attack that they wouldn't like to get blocked, be it aforementioned Longbow 2 on Guardian, Reaper's Shroud 5, or their Elite Shout, Shield to the Bone, or Warrior's Boost Charge, or get this, Battle Standard. Elite skill on 2-minute cooldown. Its stomp mechanic can be blocked with Aegis. Does it require any sort of elaboration on my part? I don't think it does. Circling back to the conversation. You may have noticed that quite a lot of momentum stoppers like CC are single hit abilities, with very few exceptions, and are in majority blockable. All builds that depend on those single hit blockable abilities as core of their gameplay will have significantly harder time dealing with Aegis spamming opponents than builds which distribute death by 1000 cuts. This differential, added on top of everything we already discussed in previous video, is painting pretty clear picture of to why no two people can agree on how strong Willbender is. There's just so many variables that affect different builds to different extent. And as with everything in life, from eating healthy to the crusades, unacceptable, there's always something complicating things even further. As you may know, different classes, different specs of those classes, and different builds of those specs will have different access to, amongst other things, Aegis. That applies to Guardian and by a proxy Willbender as well. Crushing Courage gives Aegis on initial cast and then continues to do so for 6 seconds for every 5 hits. You can get 3 to 4 procs of Aegis in total from one use of Crushing Courage. Double that with cooldown reset. And do you remember how many hits there was in Warrior's Hammer combo? Yes, exactly. Willbender can block entire hammer combo from a warrior with its Aegis generation. It is rather unlikely, but possible. And amongst all the defensive maneuvers at Will's disposal, a competent Willbender can 1v1 a hammer core or hammer berserker without taking damage. I saw that happen, I had it happen to me, and I haven't done that myself to someone else only because no one plays bloody hammer core or berserker in the ranks I'm in, as general population has the intelligence necessary to recognize a bad idea, which is a weakness I have gotten rid of. In my humble opinion, we have long since passed the threshold at which Warrior is playable without unblockable stacks, and success of Spellbreaker is partially attributable to the fact that both Breaching Strike and Full Counter are unblockable by default, while Linebreaker provides unblockable stacks, which further proves my theory. But let's not completely fall off the rails, shall we? With the difference between absolute lowest possible value Aegis can bring, being blocking something like Jade Sphere Pulse for what, 48 damage, and biggest possible value, completely invalidating certain threats, even rigid amount of it can cause different players to have very different experience with it, which gets further exacerbated by the fact that different builds may generate different amounts of Aegis. Sword Focus would be the best weapon combo for maximizing virtue passive procs for Willbender, as Focus 4 is multi-hitting and player state independent after the cast, meaning you can still use other skills while it is going, while something like Hammer would be the worst, because you can at best proc Courage effect like once with it. But Courage is not the only possible source of Aegis. Shield 4, communal defenses in Valor trait line, skills like Advance, or having a support will grant someone additional sources of Aegis, and players are rather unlikely to spot whether that Aegis which blocked their crucial CC and lost them the fight was generated by target thereafter or some dude somewhere else in the shouting range. This only makes it even more probable that experiences and opinions regarding strength of a spec will be wildly inconsistent across the community regardless of skill level they're competing at. What is consistent though are mechanical connotations of what we just discussed. If Willbender can generate 3 procs of Aegis with every use of Crushing Courage, that would effectively be the same as if Crushing Courage had built-in Shield of Wrath, which is a little insane. And Courage procs provide stability alongside Aegis, so even unblockable CCs, like Necromancer's Wail of Doom, can't hold Willbender's aggression. Considering my final statements from previous video, I'm second-guessing them. Upon closer inspection, the Aegis itself is probably causing most of the turmoil, with procs of stability firmly holding the second place in this regard. And we can't really fix that without hurting Willbender in some way or another, as with both stability and Aegis being continuously generated during his engagement through his offense, it will always cause the experience of helplessness and frustration in whoever they're pressuring, as neither CC, no damage threat, nor conditions like blindness or weakness can really help player caught in a Willblender. Only hard block, severe damage mitigation, or running away can grant pressured player a chance to turn around the encounter. And with Willbender's exceptional mobility, and duration of Courage being double or more than duration of typical defensive skills, it will make Willbender forever feel incredibly oppressive and unfair to face, no matter what's its actual power level. However, there is a nugget of potential hope. If we replace stability and Aegis procs on Corge's lasting effect with barrier instead, the spec would feel less oppressive to face, as counterplay to its offense would have broadened. But depending on barrier values, spec could retain its strength while becoming less oppressive to face. And that would probably be the best possible and preferable outcome. Because despite every criticism I have towards Willbender, I cannot deny it is fun to play, and I much rather prefer facing it over Bunker Dragon Hunter, which will soon receive its own dedicated video, full of swear words. But for now, a special sign of gratitude towards generous Patreon supporters who continuously consider my dubious quality content worth their money. You're all truly welcome. Crabface out.